everyone to BizBlend podcast. I'm your host Sana, as always. Now, just imagine, for a moment, what if success wasn't just about the hustle, the titles, or the endless to-do lists, but about how well your mind and digital world actually support you? That's quite an interesting question, right, listeners? Now, so many of us live at this intersection of constant achievement and constant distraction, our phones pinging, calendars filling, um, endless meetings, calls, WhatsApp messages, and then social media, a lot of stuff. But our minds, they really, really rest. I'll be very honest, listeners. Sometimes I find it very difficult to sit silently, quietly, without any tech around me. It really feels like I am I'm like feeling an alien. But let's imagine if the real edge in business today isn't speed, but it is mindset intelligence. What if thriving digitally is less about more applications or apps and more about mindful attention? Listeners, joining me today is someone who doesn't just talk about this, she builds frameworks for it. Anna Smith, also known as the Mindset Architect, has led global teams at Microsoft, GE, HP, and American Express. And now she helps leaders rewire limiting beliefs, reclaim balance, and lead with clarity. With neuroscience in one hand and, of course, real life transformation stories in the other, Anna makes mindset practical and digital well being possible, achievable, attainable. So let's dive in not into more noise, but into what it means to be truly intelligent about how we think and how we connect in this digital age. So, Anna, welcome to the show. And I'm really, really excited for this conversation with you.
Thank you. That was an amazing intro and setting up for an amazing conversation. I'm very, very excited. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Anna, for encouraging words. And the first question that comes to my mind when I was reading through the intro, and I was looking at mindset intelligence. Now, mindset, it's already attached with mind, and then somehow it all comes down to your intellect or your IQ or the brain. But of course, considering that there is difference between brain and mind, uh, if you can explain, like to all of us, especially me, because I have no idea about it.
Mm,
Let's know someone who feels stuck in their career or business, or who doesn't know about it. What exactly it is?
This is such an important question, and thank you for asking it. It has to do with probably a lot of the work and the focus that I have been part of. For many years, as you mentioned, I have been part of global teams, leading them, building them, helping senior leaders prepare and help them shift their mindsets and their heart sets in order, for example, to change a business model and drive a completely different avenue for a whole organization. How do we do that, right? How do we make sure that everybody's ready and everybody's on the same bus at the same time with the same understanding? But one of the things that I started to notice that was missing was a sustainability portion of when these behaviors were achieved in, let's say, a digital transformation or a business model change, what have you. There was a tendency for people to go back into their old ways. Behavior sustainability is something very, very difficult to achieve. So I decided I needed to go deeper and understand what was going on. And as part of that process, I uncovered mindset intelligence, which basically, if you think about it as a very, very high level concept. It's the missing link between our potential and our performance. How are we going to be able to achieve or perform at our best, tapping or not tapping on our full potential? We all have tons of potential, but I can assure you, because I've seen it in practice and in experience, that a lot of people leave a lot of potential on the table. And a lot has to do with a lot of the aspects that you mentioned, these burnout, these uncertainty, the all the changes that we're living, certainly technology going at the speed of faster than light. So
Yeah.
right, so mindset intelligence gives us that identification and certainly that terminology to start going deeper. So as you very, very well said, mindset intelligence really is this ability to consciously really recognize, reshape, and then reprogram those mental models that are going to influence our thoughts, our emotions, and our actions. It is a circle, it is a virtual circle or a vicious circle. And we can talk more about that for sure. But hopefully that answers the really good questions you just formulated.
Hmm. Hmm. Uh, and that makes completely makes sense, because um so many of us, we nod along when we hear that change your mindset, shift your mindset. Personally, I have been sometimes, I also struggle with that. If and this we also see, especially, let's talk about New Year resolutions. We are trying to lose our weight. We are trying to stay away from the fatty foods. We are trying to shift our habits. Sometimes it's really, really difficult to get out of those habits and invite new healthier habits, because it's a tendency that we often fall into the old patterns. And I think the scariest part is that we kind of start judging ourselves, that we are setting ourselves on a path of failure. We are failure, so I'm never going to get changed. And I think that becomes like a vicious loop. But then also you said that it can be a positive loop. We will definitely come into that. But one question comes to my mind, Anna: is mindset intelligence measurable?
I've been working on research to be able to do that, and I have designed an assessment that helps us measure it.
Okay.
I'm in the process of going and doing in the background all of the statistical analysis that is required for anything to be recognized as such, as officially, as being an official tool, scientific tool. By the same token,
Okay.
what I have amassed or gathered up until now gives us a really, really good formula and a really good picture of where we are or where we are not, because the concept as you were describing it and the challenge that we face starts at a very young age. So our beliefs, everything starts with our beliefs, and beliefs are formed when we are children, and these are formed by the people that surround us, whether it's obviously our parents, our grandparents, our caregivers, our teachers, our neighbors, our family in general, if you may, everybody that is around us. And whatever that particular belief is, it becomes installed in us. I'll give you as a start of that circle that I was describing before. I'll give you a quick example. In a lot of families, when we talk about money, it's about, what do you think that money grows in trees? What do you think that I'm printing money? What do you think? No, it's very, 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 very difficult to make money, right?
To make money. Yeah.
So that becomes a belief in your mind that most probably shows up in, for example, when you're negotiating your salary. It doesn't apply in your favor, it applies against you. Let me try and explain why based on this circle. So a belief is going to generate an emotion.
Okay.
I'm sorry, a thought. A thought
Okay.
is going to generate an emotion.
Yeah.
And this all happens, of course, in milliseconds, but it's how it happens in our brains and in our minds. Then that particular emotion is going to generate an action and then a behavior, and off we go. So when you, for example, go to negotiate for example, a project, if you're an entrepreneur and you are trying to negotiate a project with a potential client, etc., and unconsciously your belief uh, around yourself is that you are not very sharp and you are not very good at presentations, guess what's going to happen? You're going to flunk, you're
Yeah.
going to fail, because it's a self fulfilled prophecy based on the original belief that you may have that I am not good at presenting. That's why when the process flows through thoughts, through emotions, through actions and behaviors, the end result, which is my presentation, ends up being not a good one. And that's why I fail. This is where mindset intelligence, the assessment that I have, basically allows you to understand what are those specific beliefs, what are those limiting beliefs, what are those challenges. Sometimes it's the thought patterns, sometimes it's the limiting beliefs, sometimes it's our own self talk. Sometimes it's how we regulate emotions, and hopefully, you can start to see how that circle can become either virtuous or vicious for working against us or in our favor.
Hmm. That is comprehensive, Anna. That is comprehensive. And you gave a very uh, good example, because often in salary discussions, we have been taught that, when you're joining a company, when you are, you got selected, it's like a huge opportunity for you. So whatever is coming to you, just accept it. Don't ask any questions. Don't negotiate much, or else you will lose it. And then there are no options available for you. So ultimately, that subconsciously that thought kind of creeps in like a fear, and then we kind of succumb to it.
Exactly. Exactly. That's absolutely what happens. So, for example, with a coaching client just this week,
Mm.
working with him, and I'm talking about this guy is a C-level executive, super successful, etc. But because now he is negotiating a new job and he absolutely needs to get it for a bunch of personal reasons that he has, financial, etc., prestige, etc. We automatically go to our basic beliefs. So we have had to work with him very specifically on how do we change those limiting beliefs from um negotiation, as we were just describing, so that he can really negotiate the things that are critical for him. It doesn't necessarily have to be always money. It can be time flexibility. It can be less number of days in the work week. It can be an additional and higher bonus. It can be a larger team. It can be working remotely. It can be working hybrid. It can be a combination of things. But I hope that you start to see and your listeners start to see the pattern. You have to go to the source and think about, why am I thinking this way? Why am I not comfortable negotiating what I know I'm worth or what I know I need. And then what you do is, now that you understand what you need, you prepare for that and you go well equipped and in a completely different mindset to the conversation.
Hmm. Makes sense. Makes sense, Anna.
Mhm.
Now, um, it's a very interesting. Yeah, that's what you call. So, uh, you call focus the new currency of leadership. It's kind of an irony because we are talking about focus in the age which is digital and where we are talking about shorter attention spans. We are um, we are modifying our content, our messaging according to that shorter spans. You have to quickly grab the attention in there. And sometimes, I have seen brands, people going to some unknown extent in there just to grab attention.
Yeah.
So is it even realistic, Anna, to expect people to maintain deep focus when their jobs demand multitasking?
Interestingly enough, the answer is yes. And interestingly enough, multitasking is something that our brain does not do. Meaning, we believe we're multitasking. God knows, I think I'm a wonderful multitasker. God knows I have 4 children, husband, work, this, that, and the like, the parents, the commitments, etc., etc. Oh God, I can multitask like the best. The interesting thing is that our brain, what really happens at a brain level is that we are only switching between tasks. We are not multitasking. We are not doing them at the same time. We're switching. And what that entails is that it starts to subtract from your energy um, reserves, if you may, or what I call your energy account. So if you leave multitasking, at the end of the day, you're going to be drained, and this is one of the elements. So multitasking is one of those things, and there's different ways in which we can optimize for this, like time blocking, pomodoro techniques, etc. And if we have time, we can certainly talk about that. But if not, obviously, please, guys and gals, listeners, check them out. You can absolutely look them up. Our brain operates naturally in 90-minute um cycles, and we keep trying and keep doing or wanting aspiring for our brain to work in without breaks and in 8-hour stints and eat our desk in our office and all that good stuff. So what we're actually doing is we are literally subtracting from our energy, and our energy meaning creativity, innovation, all of the good stuff that a human can bring to the table at a workplace. We're subtracting from that, doing things that we can avoid by knowing how the brain and the mind operates and optimizing how we formulate work for that purpose. So the answer is yes, and it can be done. And the reason why focus is the new currency is that if leaders are able themselves to optimize their focus through different techniques, different ways to do this, they become role models, number one, for their teams and their peers, etc. And number two, they also start to generate a culture where really optimizing for outcomes versus amounts of things that you're doing or numbers of hours invested are really what you reward and recognize. So you have to, like an onion, you have to, what I do with teams is I peel the onion, I understand, I assess what and how they are operating, and with that I build with a series of frameworks and tools a different way for them to approach work to optimize for their time and their outcomes and the quality of the work as well as their well-being. That's the byproduct I'm always after. The the individual, meaning the leader or the team's well-being, because
Mm.
getting burnout is very, very easy in this day and age, as you very wisely said it.
Yes, yes, yes. I agree. I agree. I mean, it's just such an irony that it's really interesting. There is a good aspect here. There's a negative aspect here as well. But um, I also believe that multitasking is a superpower. But then there has to be, or there is some kind of a smarter design that is needed, not only subjected to the individual's willpower,
Yeah.
but systems, the culture. Like we have options in there, we have tools in there which can enable us to multitask, especially for entrepreneurs.
That's exactly it. If I were to leave your listeners with maybe one tool that they can use, it's block 90 minutes in your calendars when you have to do deep work without their phones in the room, if you can afford that. It literally just focus on what you need to focus, whether it's working with your computer, if you're designing, if you're creating, if you're writing, if you're only writing in pen and paper, drafting, whatever it is that you might be doing, block 90 minutes and then block 15 minutes for a break. And then maybe go and do your meetings and your things of the day. You're going to see, do this for a week at whatever 90 minutes in the day you can afford to. And this is not on top of your day. This is deep focus work, and you're going to see the difference in the quality of the work, number one, and number two, the difference in how you feel in terms of energy, which is the other very, very important byproduct of all of this. Hope that's helpful.
Yeah, that is. But then I also want to bring in something here, and then
Yes.
I am sure this will relate with you because you stepped away from corporate America at a personal turning point to care for your mother. I heavily resonate with that because my major reason, my bigger reason to be a full time podcaster after my 10 years of corporate journey was to be an active caregiver for my parents as well. And sometimes, as you mentioned about the 90 minutes of focus, now entrepreneurs, can be caregivers, they'll have their family. Sometimes at the back of that mind, um, you know, subconsciously, it keeps on popping up that what if there is some emergency? What if there is something needed from me? What if my family needs me? Uh, so in such situation, how do we navigate? How do we make sure that, everything is kind of, working in harmony and we have got those 90 minutes in focus to do our deep work?
Uh, First, I congratulate you on the decision. It's a decision that has paid in spades for me, and certainly for my mom in her quality of life, and therefore obviously for all of us around her. The way it was, I am not going to say that it was easy or simple or straightforward. I had to figure it out, and this is where I had to start to extract what from my corporate expertise and tools and frameworks could be valuable in this new formulation for me, doing executive coaching and speaking, and being the main caregiver for my mom, and preparing for, like you said, in the back of my mind, there's, if I'm not with her, there's always in the back of my mind, what if I'm needed, right? I
Yeah.
think one of the most important ways to do this is to establish systems, and you alluded to that a few minutes ago. Make sure that you have a plan in place for example, for your Monday through Friday. And I know caregiving is a 24/7, 365
Yeah.
operation, but if we're thinking about a Monday through Friday, because that's usually when we are competing with work. So let's say that if you can have someone else in the family, or you can afford to have someone to come and for 3 hours in the day, be the main point of contact, the main caregiver, for in this case for your parents or for my mom.
Okay.
Plan for that to be your 90 minutes, your 90 minutes of the work, your 15 minutes of break, and then give yourself some time. Maybe if you can sit outside just in nature, that is going to recharge you tremendously. The very important thing, and I think the underlying aspect that I don't want to miss in this very, very important aspect that you just touched upon, is that
Mhm.
you also have to take care of yourself first
Yeah.
when you are a caregiver, the same way that you have to take care of yourself when you're an entrepreneur or a mother or nobody teaches us that. We just stumble upon that sometimes. Sometimes we never know until we're burnt out or we end up in a hospital. So think about this, because how do you establish a system or a process to account for also your own caregiving as a entrepreneur or a leader at a small or medium organization, or if you're thinking about starting your own thing, or whatever the moment you're in, if you are not well, nothing else will be well executed, done, thought of, etc. So hope that's helpful as well.
Yes, it is. It is. You really touched on a very important point here, especially for when we are juggling caregiving, our um, career or our business. Um, it's very easy, of course, burnout and then to kind of lose ourselves, and that manifests on our physical bodies, our physical condition, and uh, we end up getting sick frequently, or flooded, or in hospital. And that's why I very strongly believe that self-care, which has been kind of very negatively connoted as selfish, it is not selfish if done in the right way with the right intention and clarity. Self-care will definitely give you that motivation to show up for yourself and for others.
Uh, I think it's vital. The challenge comes, I think, when we start to do it and then we never go back to review the system that we have in place, the frameworks, the tools, the resources, etc. But if you think about it, I mean, we are biological beings. We are not machines. So if we don't take care of ourselves, I mean, if machines break down, imagine what can happen to a human, right? So it's very critical. And again, the thing is that nobody teaches us that. This is why I really I felt very passionately about really understanding the topic of mindset intelligence, as we've been talking about, because it's our internal operating system, like our inner architecture, our mental models, our beliefs, etc. But then, of course, everything that has to do with digital well-being, that external ecosystem that handles the or looks at the relationship between us and technology, and that is what manages our attention, our energy, and very many times our emotional state. And in between these, I would say the red thread is your own well-being. There is just
Mm.
no way that all of this can happen without self-care.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Great. So, Anna, I know we are short on time, but of course, if our listeners they would like to connect with you and explore more about mindset intelligence, what will be the best way to do that?
They can. I mean, LinkedIn. That's certainly my number one. I'm very active in LinkedIn. Our brightflirt.com website, and I also wrote a book that is published this year and is in Amazon. Already available on Mindset Intelligence. I'm very happy to entertain and answer any questions that anyone may have down the road as they start to reflect on these key topics. Um, my Probably my ask would be, once you listen to this very insightful episode, your questions were very, 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 very key. Um, Reflect on one thing that you would like to change as per what you heard in our conversation today, and execute on that. It doesn't have to be mega change. Remember that change is best done when we do it in small steps but consistently. Okay? So that would be my invitation to everyone, and I'm thrilled to have had the opportunity to be part of this amazing conversation. Thank you so much for the invitation.
Super, super. I'll make sure to have your details, contact details in the show notes for our listeners to reach out to you, Anna. And thank you so much for being candid and congratulations for your book as well, Anna. And thank you for reminding us that mindset intelligence isn't just a theory, it is definitely an architecture for how we build our lives, our work, and even our digital habits. So, of course, when it comes to focus, it is not disconnecting from the world. It's about reconnecting with what actually matters for you. So, thank you so much, Anna.
Thank you. That is an amazing close. Thank you so much.
And to all my listeners out there, thank you so much for dedicating your precious time to listening to this podcast. I hope that today's conversation has stirred something within you. And I really encourage you to check out Anna's work, her books, her Mindset Intelligence Index. Just refer to the show notes along with this podcast episode on your favorite podcast platform. And more importantly, apply just one idea today. Small changes, small steps. And until next time, keep blending business with humanity. This is your host, Sana, signing off. Thank you.